Subscribe to WFO Radio on iTunes. Never miss a show. And don't forget to write a review. WFO.
Here at Martinsville Speedway, we are joined by the winning crew chief, Cole Pearn, winning team owner, Joe Gibbs. Cole, if you could just open up talking about this big win and what it means to advance to Homestead.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. That was still don't feel like woken up today. I'm not sure how we did that, to be honest. So I haven't quite processed it. So pretty cool to be, going to Homestead. I think 4 of the last 5 years for us, and this is the first time we've ever been locked in this early. So I haven't quite processed it all.
All right. And Coach, same question for you.
Yeah, I just am so thankful for this race, Martinsville, getting locked in. I mean, all the people that mean so much to our race team. Toyota had a good chance to call Bob and everybody there. Jeff at Auto Owners, huge deal for us there. You can imagine. Johnny Morris was here. Nora Miller. It's just, when you reflect on that, as an owner, all those people gamble. They come with you, and they're part of the team. And this sport is unlike any other because they truly are in the race, part of it. We couldn't be here if it wasn't for them. So I always think about them. For Coy and I, just really thankful for everybody back at the race shop, too. Everybody there. Toyota, just a huge partner. Had a chance to speak to everybody there. So it's all about the people, I think. The people back working on the cars and everything, they don't get to enjoy this. We have a little celebration on Mondays, but I'm just really thankful to be a part of something like this, to have such great people and be in such a great sport and get a chance. We all love coming to Martinsville. There's going to be action, and tonight I think we had quite a bit of it.
All right, thank you both very much. We'll open up to media questions. Please raise your hand, wait for the wireless mic, and start with your name and affiliation.
Nate Ryan, ABC Sports. I have a couple for both. Starting with Cole, Denny was talking about how he felt like they lost the control of this race with the bad pit stops early. I know Martin had a really good car, but how much of this was a track position race and aero seemed to really come into play?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I felt like we were pretty decent that first run, and then we made a good adjustment on that on the first stop, and we kind of stuck with it from there. And I know maybe track position did matter, but I felt like we worked lap traffic really well, and we were able to open up the gap a few times pretty well. So I'm sure Denny thinks that, but I don't know. I mean, we led almost the whole race. I don't really have a different perspective of it, to be honest.
And now that you have qualified for Miami, I mean, Kyle Busch has said when he won this race a couple years ago, it felt like a 2-week hall pass. Logano talked about how they prepared with those 2 weeks. What does this do for your team getting ready for the championship?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I've heard everybody talk about it. We've just never lived it till this year. So I don't know, just gonna enjoy this today, and then we'll get to work. And we've kind of been working on Homestead already, but now we'll be able to kind of dive into it deeper. It's going to be a challenging year. I think every Homestead, we've never gone through a big rules change like we're going to experience this time. We're usually able to work on last year's notes and stuff like that, and this year's not the case. So it's you're going to a track for the first time with this rules package, and you got 2 50-minute practices to figure it out. So we can work all we want on it, but to know exactly what we need to do is still going to be a bit of a guess.
Hey, Coach, your thoughts on the altercation between Denny and Joey after the race?
Well, we all know in racing there's so much at stake here. And, I always I'm not sure exactly everything that happened, but I always leave that up to the drivers. But there was a lot at stake, and when there's a lot at stake and it's Martinsville seems to bring that out. And so I think there's 2 guys that really were going after it and had a lot of passion. And I think it's one of those things that can happen in our sport. So we'll just have to. I'll be talking to Denny and kind of get the full rundown. But they're the ones that kind of know everything about it.
Mark Garrow, Pearn, have one for Cole and one for Coach. Cole, when you look back at you were talking about these last 4 or 5 years. What do you think of the numbers that you and Martin have put up? I mean, at one point, some people considered him a journeyman driver. He's now a surefire Hall of Famer over what he's done the last 5 years. You've done the same thing with your career. You're now a Hall of Fame crew chief, in my opinion. What do you think of the things you guys have accomplished the last 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know. It still doesn't feel real. Just been really fortunate to get paired up together, and just our whole team, and then to be able to have an alliance with JGR and those guys, and then be able to come in house this year has just been amazing. I mean, there's just so many unbelievable people that are a part of this group, and to be that fortunate in that spot is crazy. And I know you got to do everything right after that, but you can't do it without that platform. And it's just I don't know, feel really blessed. It's just it's crazy. It's hard to believe.
Do those numbers kind of blow you away? Laps led, the wins, the championship. I mean,
yeah, today did. I was the whole time. I'm like, is this really happening? And it continued to happen, and then it ended up winning. And you're just waiting for something to go wrong, and nothing went wrong. So it's crazy.
Coach, how does it feel to have at least one of your cars, knowing for sure that you'll have a car represented for the championship at Homestead?
It's a huge deal. When you race as hard as you do for as long as we do in our sport, think about it. You're going 38 weeks of racing, and to have one of them qualify for that is it's just special, really. And so that'll give us a chance to do things a little different at the race shop. But the focus now will go to Denny and Kyle. We got to try and find a way to get them in, and we got 2 big weeks to work on that. 2 tough racetracks, and we'll just go to work and see if we can get the other 2 in.
Hey, Joe, you just mentioned that you got to find a way to get Denny and Kyle in there. What's going on with Kyle? His playoffs have not gone at all, how he ran the rest of the season.
Yeah. I think one of the things about Kyle, for instance, today, what I really admire about him, it doesn't matter what happens. I mean, that car got beat up. I mean, he got spun around. Everything in the world happened to him, and he still finished, I don't know, what was it, 13th or something. 14th. I think he's going to fight no matter what. Now, you'd like for it to be a lot smoother than that, and you do go through, we all know that you can go through something where you struggle for a few weeks, and certainly he hasn't been winning races like he expects. He's really, I know he and Adam or spend a lot of time together trying to work their way through everything. So I think it's part of being in a real tough sport. It's the best people in the world are racing in NASCAR. You got the best owners, the best drivers, and it's a tough deal. And you can see somebody as good as Kyle is. And right now we've had a situation where we've not been able to win races here. So I know that'll be our focus.
They could have easily won last week, to be fair. I thought they probably had one of the best cars.
He seemed particularly cranky. Is that just from not running how he expects to?
You want me to evaluate Kyle's makeup or what? One thing's for sure, I'm not sure we can analyze that, okay? But, no, I think, honestly, I would say this to you. Think about his whole life. He's got Sam and Brexton, but other than that, it's racing. And when something goes bad in racing for him, think about how important that is. And it upsets him. And normally the next day he's a lot better at the race shop and everything. But, I think this has been a tough stretch for him. And I know tonight, he was really upset too. So, hopefully we break out of this. But I think it shows you how tough our sport is.
We'll go Mike and then come back up front to Bob.
Mike Neff from frontstretch.com. One for each of you. Cole, this is the first time that we've really been at least scheduled to go into the night up here. We've had some races in pretty dark a few times, but it was kind of offset with it being so warm during the day, for the hottest it's been in 15 years. Did the cars change much as we transitioned into night, or does, as Dale calls it, the big-ass spoiler really kind of overcome that?
Yeah, that was definitely, I don't think we've ever had it that warm and then cool down like that. So it's, this track's so temperature sensitive. It's hard to manage, but we kind of had a plan going into it and just stuck with it as it went, and seemed to work out okay. I'd have to, it'll be curious to go back and look and see, what the other guys fought in that transition and what they did to handle it. So, obviously from our side, I feel like we did pretty good. So, yeah, it's a bit of a challenge. We weren't really sure what to expect early on with it being so hot.
Right on. And for Coach, obviously 3 guys eligible to make it to Homestead. You got one locked in. At this point, do you focus resources on Denny and Kyle, or are you still laying it across all 3, or are you taking the resources for the 19 and focusing them already to Miami?
Yeah, everything in our sport is so focused on sponsors and everything that happens with our race teams, obviously, but we can't afford to just be focused on one car or 2 cars. It's all the way across the board. Even Eric tonight, really upset with everything there, and Stanley Black & Decker is just a huge sponsor for us. So we work hard on all 4 cars. Obviously, this will be a different situation with the 19, and so these guys, Cole and their team, they'll probably approach it a little bit differently. But you know what, Denny and Kyle, we're going to be trying to win a race, and so's Eric. I told Eric the best thing for us to win one of these races down the stretch for them and for Stanley. And I think he feels that way. Qualified well this week and didn't run as well. So I'm just saying it's kind of all the way across the board. You never really focus because there's so much for us that we depend on all 4 cars. That's one of the things I love about our sport. It's very unusual. You got to get 4 teams to work together, to have a chance to compete at this level, and it's hard to do, but we need all 4 teams.
Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. I have one for each of you. Cole, you won at Vegas, you won Charlotte. How do you feel you'll stack up against whoever you face at Homestead?
Yeah, I think Homestead's a little bit of an unknown, but it's definitely a lower grip track. So I feel like for Martin and our program, that's that falls into our wheelhouse. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be a battle of being good on the short run versus the long run, and how that plays out for you. And you're going to have to go and make your bed, and hopefully it's going to be your day. It's crazy. It can come down to that, but I think this year more than ever with these rules, it's going to be that way.
And for Coach, in the last few kind of quote-unquote fights that have happened on pit road after races, it seems like crew members get involved, and it's hard to tell whether they're trying to separate or trying to exaggerate or go after each other, or the drivers. What do you instruct your crew members to do in these situations?
Well, we obviously, I think everybody's crews try and protect their driver, and I think generally what we try and do is separate guys. But we all know emotion runs high. It's a sport that brings a lot of intensity to the racetrack. Think about how much work you go. We're at 35 or 36 weekends. Everything you put into this, and if you see somebody do something to you that you think goes against your what's best for you, there's going to be the price to pay for that. So I just think it's emotion. It's part of our sport. You see it in most sports, to be truthful.
Cole, can you answer that? About crew guys getting involved in driver fights?
I think it's emotion, right? I don't know. I grew up getting in a lot of fights in my life, so I don't have a problem with it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see why everyone gets so worked up about it here. I don't think it's a big deal. Oh, I was good at starting them. I don't know how many I win. I just made sure I had bigger friends to help me out when I got going.
I didn't think about that. we ought to brush you up a little bit, stick you in the middle of some of that.
Okay. Cole, another one for you. You guys, even though you're qualified now for the championship, I mean, the playoffs you guys have had by far better than any of the other 7 remaining drivers. I mean, you're 20 points ahead of Denny. And really, I think Talladega was your only stumble. I mean, how do you approach the next 2 weeks? I mean, do you still just want to try to win the next 2 weeks and prove to everybody, hey, we're the most formidable opponent here left? And, how do you carry that going forward, knowing that the big prize is still a few weeks away?
Yeah, I think we're fortunate. The next 2 weeks we're going back to tracks for the second time, so that makes it a little bit easier to prepare. So I feel like Texas we struggled, but we know where we kind of went wrong there the first time. So definitely optimistic for there. I think it's definitely a bit of a wild card with such a low fall off and hard tires. It's going to be kind of a strategy game and how you shake out on that side of it. But feel really good about Phoenix. We we finished second there in the spring and really kind of hit on some stuff that helped us the rest of the season. So definitely optimistic going there. So it's still a NASCAR Cup Series. So if you have an opportunity to win, you want to go do it and do it for everybody on our team and our partners. So we're still gonna try hard the next 2 weeks. But obviously Homestead is going to be important.
Do we have any other questions for either gentleman? Thank you both very much, and congratulations.
Yeah, thank y'all. Thank you.
All right, we are now joined by our race winner, Martin Truex Jr. Martin, if you just want to open up talking about this big win and advancing to Homestead.
Oh, sure, yeah, just really happy about it. Obviously, been trying to work on getting a Martinsville win for a long time. It's a tough track. It's one that everybody I think wants to win at, the history here, and just it's such a big part of NASCAR. So really proud of everybody on our team for what they did, and the car they brought. The pit stops today were incredible. The guys did a great job. So just all around a great day, and to lead that many laps is pretty incredible here. So big day, big win, and I think Homestead is the bonus. So here we go. We'll see if we can win another championship.
All right, we will open up for questions and start here with Jenna.
Martin, you had not won at a short track before this year, but you were good at short tracks. I mean, what turned and clicked and made it just so that you could do it?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, you look at we won here, we won at Richmond twice. You look at how many races at Richmond we should have won in the past few years. Bristol, we haven't been that great, but we've been close. And then, here, third last year, I guess, leading coming into the last set of corners. So, I guess sometimes it's your day, It's your time, and we work hard. We put everything into it, and, sometimes things work the way you want them to, sometimes they don't. And this year they went the way we needed them to, and here we are.
Would you have roughed someone up for the win?
We don't have to talk about that, do we?
Mark?
Wait till next time.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Martin, can you talk about, I heard a little comment that you made on NBC after the race about the intensity and how it's never been this intense. Can you just talk to that a little bit and try to explain to the fans and folks like us what that intensity feels like?
I mean, I could try, but I'm not that good at it. To be honest, it's hard to explain. It's hard to, without being on that track, it's hard to feel what guys are, putting on the line and how hard they're driving their cars and all those type of things. So, I mean, I just think I feel like every year I've been in this playoff format, it's gotten more difficult. It just seems like every year somehow people turn up the intensity even more, and I don't know how that's possible. I think this year some of it's the rules package, and especially on the bigger tracks, with the 4 and 5 wide restarts and things like that play into what we're doing. But just feel like there's a lot more intensity. There's a lot more on the line anymore, I guess.
Bob Hawkers, Fox Sports. I have two. At what point this year did you, if you had any sort of doubt that whether you could win a championship at Gibbs, were you like, okay,
I never had any doubt.
From day one, you knew that. Did you have any doubt during the season at all that?
Nope.
You might not be in this position?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't have went there if I didn't think I could win a championship. I would have retired.
And.
Huh?
Made me forget my other question.
So I did awesome.
Is there? How has the
Come on,
playoffs,
spit it out.
Have the playoffs been any different being with Gibbs than they were 2 years ago when you made your championship run with Furniture Row?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for me, no. I don't really feel much different about it. I think the cool thing about it was we had, when we were at Furniture Row, the first year we had, an alliance with RCR. The second year, when we won the championship in 2017, we had the alliance with JGR. So it feels a little different because, we were kind of like the outsiders then, at Gibbs. And now, we have all those people there pulling for us and wanting us to do good. So it's a little bit different, I think, from that perspective. But for me, that's all team stuff. That's for Cole to deal with and the crew guys and the pit crew and all that stuff. For me, I don't really feel like it's any different. I do the same job now as I did then. I just have a lot more people to know their names during the week and thank. So it's a little bit different, but at the end of the day, it doesn't change a lot for me.
Charles Rourke, Star News. One thing I want to ask is that how does it feel? You won the race. You should be getting attention, but all of the TV is talking about the fight.
That's fine.
It's cool.
That's fine, yeah. Whatever.
But you said you didn't give a damn, and I heard you on NBC.
I don't.
You're just glad to be out of that fight, right?
I'm glad I'm not fighting. I'm glad I won. And not only, honestly, it's really not only about going to Homestead for me. This is a huge win for me personally. This is huge. I was so mad. Part of the reason I was so mad last year wasn't because of Homestead. I felt like we could still get there, and we did. I wanted to win this race. I wanted to win at Martinsville because it's been so tough for me. And first couple of times I came here, we were terrible. Awful. I seen Bono yesterday. He used to be my crew chief, Kevin Bono Mannion, and we joked about how bad we ran here the first couple times just yesterday. So, for me, it's just a personal thing. You want to be able to win everywhere. You want to be able to conquer all the things you say. I need to figure that out, and to finally get it here, it just feels good. So Homestead, yeah, it's awesome. But, standing here today, the win here and taking that grandfather clock home is even bigger to me. In my living room. Yeah, you'll be able to see it as soon as you walk in the front door. So, yeah. I've actually looked at that spot before and thought that grandfather clock would look good right there.
We'll go Nate and then the back of the room.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. I have two, Martin. One, obviously, you had an extremely fast car, but this was a track position race. I think there were 3 lead changes.
Yeah.
Did you feel like once you got up front, you could just control it because of the fact that it seemed like aero was a factor in guys trying to get around people?
Early on, I wasn't sure. And then, we led some, and I was like, okay, it's pretty good. Guys, they're hanging around, but I didn't know if we'd be able to keep the car the way it, if we'd be able to keep up with the racetrack, because I knew it was going to cool off. I knew it was going to get dark. This place is notorious for changing with temperature as far as how the rubber goes down, how your car reacts, how your car handles. So I never really thought I was in control of anything. I just tried to keep doing what I was doing, keep telling them what the car was doing if I needed to change something. And and that was really it. So, I don't in the heat of the moment, I guess you don't really think about those things like, oh, I'm gonna lead this whole race. It doesn't matter, right, until you do it. So you kind of just play it literally one lap at a time and one run at a time. And as it kept going, I'm like, damn, nobody's still catching us, And it's like we do another run, and I'm like, all right, it's cooling off. How much is it going to change here? And then we could still pull away. And I was like, okay. Each time I was a little bit more amazed at how good things were going. But I never really thought about it more than that, to be honest.
And speaking of how good things are going, I don't know if you've looked at the points, but, you guys are crushing everybody in the playoffs right now. You're 20 points up on Hamlin. You guys have been by far the best team. Now you're locked into Miami, but how do you still approach the next 2 races? Cole said he feels like you guys probably still could win both. It must be weird to sort of be in this situation where the grand prize is waiting out there in 3 weeks, but, you still have maybe something to prove about how formidable you are here in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't really know. We've never been in this position before. We've always, every time we've made the Final Four, we've pointed our way in. We've never won in this round, so it's new territory. It's good territory to be in. But I think we can't change who you are. I said that early in the year when the playoffs started. You can't just go from the regular season to we're going to change our mindset for the playoffs. You race every week the same. Just more. There's more on the line as you go down the road here. So we're going to go. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of effort put into our car for Homestead, which is probably already started. But now there will be a little bit extra time, for Cole and the guys to work on their thoughts and their plan. But we're going to go try to win the next 2. Just like here, we've never won the next 2 tracks, and we want to. So here we go. We'll go try to see if we can do it. But if we don't, oh well, it doesn't really matter. So. I mean, I don't know. I mean, everybody wants to be the best here all the time, and so yeah, it feels great. I mean, it feels amazing to be doing this. I feel so lucky to have the team I have and drive for the team I do and have our sponsors, and just I'm really lucky to be doing what I'm doing, so I'm just enjoying it, having a blast, and hopefully it keeps coming. But yeah, it feels damn good to be the best right now.
Peter Trott at TSJ Sports. Martin, tonight was your first win at Martinsville. Of the tracks you have yet to win on, do you feel that there's one that owes you a win more than others?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I believe any track owes you anything, no matter what you've done there. But I would say that next week at Texas, we've been close there a bunch, and we've led a bunch of laps at that racetrack, been real close, and we got poles and all that kind of stuff there as well. So, I don't think any track owes you anything, but I feel strongly that we can go to Texas next weekend, compete for the win, and hopefully we'll be able to do that.
We're going to go up to the press box. Questions from the press box.
Jim Utter, motorsport.com. Kind of a two-part question, Martin. First, William Byron seemed to be the only guy who really could get to you much at all, and that was at the end of the race. I wondered if there was anything you thought he was doing that maybe the others had less success at trying, and if you had any concern that he might try something a little bit more since he was kind of already out of the Homestead picture.
Well, my original thought was they put Jeff Gordon back in that car because he was so good here. So I was like, damn, Jeff's giving him tips or something. Jeff was amazing here. So to see the 24 running that good was pretty cool, first off. And, he did an amazing job. He's really good on restarts. And I felt like every time even midway through the race when he got to second, there was a lot of times we were in tons of traffic, and I kept looking back there, and he was just hanging around. So he did a really good job of hanging around all day long. And then at the end, I was just trying to get good restarts and make sure I could get a little bit of a gap. I knew he was hungry. I knew he's never won before. So I knew he was probably willing to do just about anything to get a win, and I just tried my best to try to get a little bit of a gap because I honestly didn't want him anywhere near me with 2 or 3 laps to go. So that's all I was trying to do, was just keep a little distance there, and luckily we're able to do that.
We'll stay in the press box.
We're all clear up here.
Thank you very much. We will go to Jordan and then Mark.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. Martin, are you the championship favorite at Homestead?
I don't know. You tell me.
You've got the stats.
It doesn't matter what I think. I'm going to go there and try to win the race. So that's my job. That's all I really care about, and that's all I think about.
Do you think you have the car and everything to beat those guys?
Oh, of course I do. I think I have the best team, and I think we'll have a really good car for there, and we'll go try our best. That's what we do. It's one race, so I don't know. Y'all can figure out who the favorites are.
Mark Garrow.
Mark Garrow, PRN. Martin, in these next 2 races, there could be a scenario where you're out there to win the race, and winning that race could prevent one of your teammates from moving on to Homestead. They could be your toughest competition if they were at Homestead. Obviously, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, top of their games. So is that something that you would have to do to win a race to freeze them out? Say you're at, whether it's Texas or Phoenix, they're behind you and that kind of thing.
We're going to go race as hard as we can race. Like I said, I wouldn't mind winning the next 3. So, that's what we're going to try to do. That's what we get paid to do. That's our job, is try to win. So, we're not going to let anybody win, if that's what you're asking. Doesn't matter who they are, teammates or not. We're not going to let anybody win. So, we're going to try our best, and hopefully we can get it done.
Will there be any consideration at all, given that you're already in, if you can help them get in? Or, again, they're competition.
We're not going to let anybody win.
Charles.
Yeah. I've been thinking back, Joey Logano's controversy for years back here. You got any advice for him? Because every time he comes to Martinsville, it's a fuss.
Yeah.
No
I got no advice.
Bob Pockris.
Bob Pockris, Fox Sports.
Did you-
Two of the guys that you could be potentially.
Where's your spoon at? Your ladle. So you call it wooden spoon.
The two of the guys that you could be facing for the title are Hamlin and Logano, and they get in this scuffle post race. Do you know, like when you're racing, can you see like guys that you're like, oh yeah, those two guys are racing each other harder because they were in a like? Is that good for you if they're in the championship and they potentially have that in the back of their mind, or do you think drivers forget about it? And
I don't know. I mean, I think it, something like what happened today. I think is, they're not going to give up their chance at a championship by worrying about what happened today. If they get to Homestead, but certainly the next 2 weeks they'll be thinking about it when they're around each other. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Mike Neff from frontstretch.com. Congratulations, Martin.
Thanks.
This is the first race that we've really had to transition to night, legit night. We've had some finish in the dark here pretty good, but this is the first time with the lights at night. I asked Cole about the transition, and he was kind of non-committal. He's like, there was a pretty big temp swing inside the car as we went from the hottest race in the last 15 years to darkness with cooler temperatures and humidity. Did it really change the way the car handled?
It probably didn't change as much as I thought it was going to be honest with you, based on past experience here and especially even yesterday in practice, from morning practice to afternoon, it changed big time. But I was surprised that it didn't really change it that much, and I think that's just a credit to, the guys keeping up with the track and keeping up with their adjustments with the temperature change and staying on top of things. I was surprised how, like I said earlier, our car stayed so good the whole race. We made some adjustments early, and then we were just doing really small stuff the rest of the day. So I was surprised by that.
Martin, what kind of sense of pride do you take? This is your third straight year making it to Homestead in 4 out of 5 years. You've done it with 2 organizations, but basically the same team. I mean, how good do you feel about what you've accomplished?
I feel great about it, because we've had a lot of different things in that time, if you think about it, from teams to, personnel to, manufacture, different chassis, this and that. I mean, we've had a lot, different alliances and things. So it's a big deal, I think. And rules changes, different cars, different styles. It's a lot to learn when they change those things. So for me personally, it means a ton. And, obviously the one constant in there really has been Cole and our relationship and what he brings to the table for me. And you look over history and look at the combinations of driver and crew chief and the success they were able to have together. And I never really knew what that was like until I got with Cole. And so it's a lot. It means a ton. I love racing with him. He's a great guy, great leader, and he's put some great teams together for us over the years. So, it's really cool to be a part of that, and hopefully we can just keep it going. I mean, that's the biggest thing. We're working hard on trying, and hopefully we can keep that going. But you never know.
Have you ever seen him fight?
No.
He said he told us earlier he fights all the time.
I mean, in hockey, maybe. Yeah.
We're going to close with Deb.
Deb Williams, RacingToday.com. Congratulations, Martin.
Thank you.
You were just mentioned in answering Jenna's question about a lot to learn over these last few years. Do you approach a race different than you used to, or do you study data more? Do you approach one different now than you used to as far as learning, studying?
Yeah, I mean, I think it changes every year for sure, and especially the last 2 years since the SMT came out. NASCAR has all that data sharing deal. You can look and see whatever any driver in the field's doing at any point in time through the weekend. If somebody's doing something different or they're really fast, you can look and see what they're doing. So I mean, there's a lot more information available today than there was 5 years ago, and you just have to try to keep up with it all. That's one thing. That's again, Cole and my engineers, James, they really stay up on that stuff and keep me in the loop on what's going on and point me in the right direction on a lot of that kind of stuff and what I should be looking at and shouldn't be looking at. So the more as we go down the road, the more things become available, the more you have to use them. Because if you're not using them, somebody else is. They're going to have an advantage. And so, yeah, you're constantly learning. You're constantly just trying to do everything you can to try to get better.
Thank you very much, Martin.
Thanks,
Congratulations.
guys. Appreciate it.
This is WFO Radio.